everybody. How are we doing today? Welcome back to another episode of Ask StreamYard. We're going to be actually featuring one of our users today, Ariana. Her YouTube channel is called PokeGal, and we're going to be answering a question that she asked us to help her with, and that is, how do we play music using StreamYard? How can we play music during our streams while we're streaming using StreamYard? There is a way. In fact, there's a number of ways that you can actually play music while you're streaming. This is something that I do with my own shows. By the way, I'm Melanie Diane Howe. Maybe you don't know who I am. So a lot of people just call me Mel. That's what you can call me too. But I love StreamYard. I'm a StreamYard user and I'm a StreamYard partner. And I have basically taken pride in the fact that I love to maximize this tool, this application, and use it to create amazing live shows. And so one of the things that I've recently done in the last few months is I've been incorporating music in my streams. I play music when I'm getting started. Sometimes I play music while I'm doing demonstrations and whatnot. And so I was super excited to be able to come on today and answer this question for you guys. So let's get a quick check. Let me check a couple things. I want to check in on you guys. I see that PokeGal is here. Hello, Ariana. We are going to be answering your question today. So it's great to see you. Good morning to everyone who is watching in the morning, and good afternoon if it's in the afternoon for you. So, all right, we've got all kinds of people here today. We have Rio. Sherry is here as well. Hello, hello, hello. Carrie is here. So yeah, let's have some fun, right? So we are going to be answering Ariana's question. But before we get started, I do want to remind you guys that if you want to have one of your questions, if you want us to feature one of your questions, then what you can do is you can actually go into our StreamYard community, our Facebook community. It's a fantastic community. I got to tell you, it's awesome. Lots of great users in there, lots of friends, lots of people helping each other. And so it's a great place for you to ask questions. But if you use the hashtag #AskStreamYard, then we just might grab your question and feature it on one of these shows. These shows are basically, right now, they're scheduled for every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So you can check us out. So use this hashtag and ask the question. And as I said, we may grab it and we may feature you on a show. We'll send you a free t-shirt, right? So there's that too, if you want a t-shirt like the one I'm wearing, right? Get a little StreamYard swag. So, okay. So we've got all kinds of people here. Dawn is here. Hello, Dawn. Hello, Helen. Wow, we got all kinds of great people. Robin from Oklahoma. Good morning. Good morning. It's morning for her, that's for sure. Driving with Miles. Hello. We've got Dan here as well. He's tagging somebody saying, come watch the show. Yeah, if you know somebody that maybe has been trying to do this, then go ahead and share this stream with them. Let them know, because we get this question a lot. I will tell you, this question comes up quite a bit, and sometimes there's a little bit of confusion around this concept. And so I definitely want to make sure that we cover a few bases today. But what I'm going to be showing you guys is how to use a few tools to play music during your streams. Now, before we get started, the thing that you have to make sure you understand is you have to know what your copyright rights are. So anytime you're adding audio or even videos into any of your shows, you need to make sure that you have the rights to use that in your show. Otherwise, you will actually potentially get your video taken down, or you can actually get banned. So you can get into like Facebook jail, or you can get a strike from YouTube, and it's not any fun. So make sure that you cover your bases there and you understand that you're pulling stuff in that you are allowed to play. So there's a couple ways you can do that. I personally am a subscriber to Epidemic Sound. I love the library of music and sound effects that they provide to us. And you can use it in your live broadcast, but you can also use the audio files in other videos that you might be creating on a podcast. So it's definitely a subscription service, but it's got it's a humongous library, like huge library. And that is what I use in my stream. So we'll talk about that a little bit as well. But then there are also some resources out there that do offer copyright-free music. One of my favorites that I always recommend, and it's one of my go-tos, is StreamBeats. So if you go to streambeats.com, it's actually free music that you can use wherever you want, however you want. And it's all been provided to us by, he's a YouTuber. His name's Harris Heller. He's got a great channel, teaches all kinds of stuff about live streaming gear and everything else. But he also has provided this wonderful library of music, tons. And he's continuing to add to it. And so that is definitely a resource that I would check out as well. So Michael Daniels is here, and he actually did a really cool tutorial on our Learn with StreamYard show. And he says, we have a guy in our community that used Camtasia music and got 2 copyright strikes in YouTube. There is also sometimes you will actually have rights to using music, and sometimes the platforms aren't really you have to make sure you follow your do your checks and balances to basically prove that you own the music sometimes. Another one that's really popular that people tend to ask me about is Canva. Canva is a really popular tool that actually has a music library as well. So if you're creating videos, maybe for your intros, make sure that you're connecting your Canva account to your social accounts so that essentially Canva can tell those social accounts, hey, this person's allowed to use this music. And so sometimes there are a few things you have to do to make sure that you don't get those strikes. And you can always file an appeal essentially when you get those. I've had to do that before. It's kind of a pain in the butt, but usually it's resolved pretty quickly. So there's that. We got to make sure we cover that as well. So something else that I wanted to make sure that I pointed out to you guys is if you're going to be incorporating any kind of audio into your stream, whether it be from a guest or whether it be music or sound effects, there's something really important that you can't skip, and that's these. You need to wear some headphones. Now, you don't have to wear these headphones necessarily, but you're going to need to wear headphones because if you're playing audio from your speakers, whether it be a guest or whether it be music, you're playing audio from your speakers, what's going to happen is there's going to be an echo. There possibly could be an echo because the microphone is going to pick up that sound from your speakers, and it's essentially you're pushing the music to your users, but you're also pushing the music into the microphone, so it's going to pick it up twice. And so it's going to stream it, but it's also going to pick it up in your mic, and it's going to create an echo. So some of you have maybe even tried or dabbled with, incorporating audio in your streams, and your audience maybe said that they heard an echo. Well, were you listening to the audio through your headphones, or were they playing through your speakers? So that's something that's really important because anytime we start to add other things, you need to make sure that you are set up for success. And so again, making sure that you understand the usage rights to the stuff that you're playing, including videos and any kind of sounds or audio, music, sound effects, or whatever. And make sure you understand that. And then also make sure that you're wearing headphones. Those are two really big, important things that I wanted to cover first. So let's talk a little bit about, I want to check on you guys in the comments. I'm going to be checking on you guys in the comments, and I am going to answer some questions. I'm going to go through a few ways that you can incorporate music into your streams, but I'm also going to answer questions for you guys. Okay. So you definitely can ask some questions. If you don't mind, maybe hold those a little bit, cause I don't want to lose the questions in all the comments. You guys are definitely excited about this today, which is fantastic. I'm really excited that we're going to be diving in. I think this is a very popular question for sure. So, okay, let me take a look at you guys here in the comments. Oh yeah, we got all kinds of stuff. If I don't get to your question, then let's make sure that you ask me again for sure. I've got my buddy Christian with StreamYard in the comments today. He's going to be helping me make sure I take care of you guys for sure. So, okay, music sites again. Yeah, let me just cover those once more. So Epidemic Sound is actually it's a subscription-based service. And it is awesome. So Epidemic Sound, it's fantastic. I think I pay $12.99 a month for it. And honestly, guys, here's the thing. I actually really like the music. And sometimes I literally listen to it in the car. I mean, I do. So here's one thing about it. It is browser-based. So it's a website and you can listen to all this stuff. You can create playlists and you can listen to the music on the website, but you can also download the audio files to use in your own production, or your own apps that you want to use to play the music. So then the other site that I mentioned earlier was called StreamBeats. And StreamBeats is actually copyright-free music. And I'll show you guys these in just a second. It's copyright-free music, so you don't have to worry about it. In fact, sometimes I know I've seen Harris Heller. He's the guy who basically provides this to all of us to use. I will say that I've heard him say on some of his videos that sometimes Facebook will get confused and sometimes I've never had any problems, but he has said that there have been times when people have said Facebook thought they didn't have the usage rights to use the music, but it's all copyright free. And I haven't seen him say that for a while, so maybe that's been resolved, but he said he's never had any issues with YouTube, that sometimes Facebook gets confused, but there you go. So, okay, so let me jump in. Those were the two sites that I mentioned, so I definitely wanted to pull that up. So here's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to show you guys essentially how I do this, but I'm also going to start with an easy way that maybe some of you haven't really thought about. Again, one of the things I really like to do is I take pride in the fact that I maximize this tool. So one thing you can do is if you're using one of these sites, let's just say, for example, StreamBeats. Okay, so let me pull up StreamBeats really quick and I'll show it to you guys. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to pull it up right here. So this is Stream Beats right here. So this is, you have all these different styles of music. And they are on just about all the apps. So some of it's on Amazon Music now, some of it's not. But for the most part, these are all on Spotify. They're also on the Apple Music. So you can definitely find them there if you use those apps. But there's a key. The way I'm going to show you first is the freest and easiest, simplest way. Okay, it may not be the purest, best, absolute premium quality way, but if you don't want to pay for anything or use any other applications, this is actually one of the ways that you can incorporate music into your stream. It's the way I first started to do it. You would need to play the music in a browser. So it's really important that you play music in a browser. So there's all kinds of stuff here. I mean, he has so much stuff that he's done. He's actually added quite a bit as well. But if you click on any of these links, it's going to pull these lists up in a browser window. So let's just pull the Spotify one up right here. And we're going to say, we don't want to open the app. That's really important. You don't want to open the app. So we're going to cancel. We need to be in a browser. So here's the way, what you can do. I don't know if everybody realizes this, but when you share your screen, you have the option to share a Chrome tab or the browser, the Chrome browser. And when you do that, you're going to also get an option to select share audio. So when we go, so now you're in StreamYard, okay? And we're going to say share screen. And when we do that, right, this little checkbox right here, share audio. So if we were to say, yeah, I want to share a Chrome tab, and we pick the Stream Beats Chrome tab, and I select share, I make sure this is selected, and then I share. Now I have the Stream Beats up. Well, now it's all the way up. Hold on a second. Bear with me. We're gonna do this. Back to StreamYard. So now I'm sharing this tab, okay? I'm going to add it to my stream. Now, you would probably want to do this prior to actually being on. When you connect your camera, which we'll do here right now. Let's try to do a camera here so that this makes sense. I'm going to do my Brio. I'm going to try. My camera might be a little bit, because I'm using two things here, but you would be added to the stream. Okay, so you would be added to the stream, which we can't connect right now because I'm using two browsers. But when you do that and you add yourself to the stream, you can click on solo mode right here. So if you select this right here, you will actually be the only thing on screen. And even though your browser, you're sharing your screen, it's actually not going to be on screen. It's just going to be you on screen. Okay, so unfortunately, because of the way that I've got my stuff set up right now, I'm not going to be able to show that to you right this second because I'm using my camera on this stream with you right now. And so I can't do it over here on this one. So basically, this would be in the background and you would be on screen, and you can play the music on your browser and it will actually stream. It'll actually play through. So let me actually do it for you guys so you can hear what it's going to sound like. So I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to remove this again, and I'm going to reshare because stop screen, and I'm going to share that browser that has the Stream Beats on it. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Clicking that browser. I'm going to just select the Chrome tab, share audio. Okay, so basically what would happen is I would add it to the stream, just like this, and then I would go to solo mode. Okay, so I'm going to play this. Oops, yes, I have an account. Well, let me sign in really fast. This is what happens when you do things live. Hold on, let me sign in over here. So I guess you have to have an account, which I do. Spotify, it's free, so it's not like you have to pay for anything. Okay, now we're good. So we're gonna play this. Now I'm in solo mode. So you should hear music at this point. So Christian's backstage. Give me a thumbs up if you hear it. Okay, so what we're doing is we are playing the music, but it's through the Chrome tab. Okay, we're playing it through the Chrome tab. So what you hear is this. I'm going to add it back to the screen. So you could do it this way. So you could play the music in the Chrome tab, share the Chrome tab, and share the audio, but then put it in the background. So you could be talking and streaming. Now you're going to control your volume in the Spotify Chrome tab, the application itself. And so that's really important for you to also keep in mind, is that you don't want to have the volume too loud, because you want to make sure that you can turn it down. And so you're going to turn it down in the browser because you wouldn't want it to be too loud and then your audience can't hear you. Now, this is great for when you're using when you're doing demonstrations, or when you're just kind of having a fun time, you want to play music and you just want to have fun with your audience, maybe during your intro, maybe as you're exiting, maybe as you're finishing. I like to play music when I do demonstrations sometimes, or when I'm messing around with things, because it's not as quiet, right? And so I play a little background music. The thing you want to keep in mind is if you're going to repurpose your videos, you need to make sure that wherever you're going to be using that video, you have it all set up so that you're not going to get any kind of copyright strikes. I noticed that somebody's saying, don't use Spotify. Well, here's the deal. You can use Spotify to play this music because it's copyright free. Spotify is just the application that you're using. And again, we're pumping it through the Chrome browser tab. So you can definitely do that, but you can't use just any music on Spotify. So Tristan is, mentioning this, but the point is that you have to make sure you're using copyright-free music. There is copyright-free music on Spotify. Stream Beats happens to be one of them. So you definitely want to make sure that you're using the proper music. Again, we talked about that. We mentioned that. So make sure that that's something that you're thinking about and considering for sure. So you can also, so Coffee Talk and Tech, make a playlist on epidemic sound, and you're off. Yeah. But I wanted to share a quick free version with you guys. So that's the free version. You need to find copyright-free music, play it in a browser, share your screen, click, share audio, and then put yourself over into solo mode on top of it. So that's something I wanted to point out. That's an easy way to do it. Again, you're not going to have the absolute best sound when you do it this way because it is playing through a browser. The browser audio is not going to be pure and premium. So let's talk about a way that we can step up our quality. Okay, so let me close all this. All right, closing that. So one of the other ways that we can do this is we can use software. So you can actually use software to control your audio. And we have done, we had Michael Daniels. He definitely did a tutorial for Voicemeeter. And there are some limitations to it. But at the same time, if you're on a PC, you can use Voicemeeter. It is free. And then if you're on a Mac, you can use Loopback, which is, I believe, also free. But they're kind of like, you have to kind of learn how to use these applications. Now, something that I want to point out as well, I will tell you what I use. What I use is the Wavelink software that comes with the Elgato Wave 1 or the Elgato Wave 3 microphones. So again, it's a free software that comes, if you're using one of those microphones, if you're considering buying a USB microphone, you might want to consider buying the Elgato Wave 1 or the Elgato Wave 3 because it comes with an application that actually will allow you to control audio that is coming through to your streams. So I will briefly show this application to you guys. It's very simple. So let me show you right here. Sharing my screen. Okay, so this is what it looks like right here. So this is an app that you download it and then you connect your different audio sources to it. So I have my microphone connected. I can control the output volume right here. So I can make myself really, really quiet where you could barely hear me, and then I can go all the way back up. So you can control your audio here, and then you can connect different sources, including another microphone if you wanted to. So I actually do have another microphone connected, but I have it completely muted. And so I'm using this mic, that's what's coming out. I can see right here the audio level of what's being output to you. So Nika, this application is called Wavelink. It is only for people who have the Elgato Wave 1 or the Elgato Wave 3 microphones as of right now. Doesn't mean that they may not open this up to other mic users. I'm sure you'd have to pay for it, but it's free if you have one of those microphones. Now, Rode recently came out with their version of this software as well. It's called Rode Connect. And I believe that you have to have the mini NT USB microphone, and it comes with that microphone. So if you have one of those, again, if you're in the market and you're thinking about buying a new microphone and you're wanting a USB mic, you might want to consider one of these two microphones because they come with these applications. Now, I will say this, because Rode came out with their version of this, we will probably start to see other microphone manufacturers coming out with something similar. So be on the lookout. Make sure that you're subscribed to your microphone manufacturer so that you get notified if your microphone manufacturer comes out with an application. Yes, the Wavelink application is only for Elgato Wave 1 and Elgato Wave 3 microphones. So that's what we got for that. So, okay, so what it does is I can control the audio being played with the Spotify application, okay? And I can control the audio in a browser as well. So I can mute it by clicking down here simply, or I can also adjust the volume levels, which is what I do when I play music in my applications. So let me see here. So PokeGal says Wavelink question mark, but then I think you said, what if we don't have the app? If you don't have these, this microphone where you can use this application, then you're going to have to use another application, one of which would be Voicemeeter if you're on a PC or Loopback if you're on a Mac. Now, we are working on releasing some tutorials actually to our YouTube channel where we will go into a step-by-step process with those applications. So be on the lookout. If you haven't subscribed to the StreamYard YouTube channel, definitely make sure you've done that so that you get notified when those tutorials are released. But I'm telling you that those applications are great, but they are a little bit more cumbersome. Again, the other option is the Rode into USB microphone. It comes with an app as well that does the same stuff. So if you have the Wavelink, the Wave microphones, download Wavelink. If you have the Rode into USB mic, go download the new Rode Connect application. If you don't have those microphones and you don't want to purchase those microphones, then you're gonna want to look at Voicemeeter, or you're gonna want to look at Loopback. So if you're wanting to go check out Voicemeeter right away, we did a Learn with StreamYard with Michael Daniels. He actually did a walkthrough with the Voicemeeter application. Again, it's a little clunky. It can be a little bit cumbersome. And so keep that in mind. I'm telling you, just keep that in mind. I personally find the Wavelink application to be very easy to use. And I've seen the Rode Connect application, just by watching some YouTube channel videos on it. It also looks extremely easy to use. So someone's asking about, let me see. Voicemeeter is a free application or paid. It is a free application. They do have some paid options, some upgraded versions, right? But for now, it's essentially they're the free. The basic one is free. And if you're just wanting to play music, you should be able to just use the free version of that. So, okay. So essentially how this one works is, let me pull up my Spotify, and I'm going to pull up Stream Beats on Spotify again. Again, it's copyright free. Do not forget that very important aspect. That it's really important that you know that has to be free. So copyright free music. All right, let me see here. So I've got my Spotify open over here. I'm trying to make it so that you can see everything together. Let me shrink the size of this a little bit. Okay, so go back to my screen. All right, so here I have Spotify, the actual application open. So again, I actually have the application open this time. You don't have to use a web browser. So I'm using an application, Spotify, and I have this copyright-free music back up. See, it says copyright-free for Twitch streams, YouTube, and glow stick parties. I haven't had any issues playing this with Facebook, but I definitely want you to just keep that in mind. So, all right, real quick. So if I'm going to play this music, I'm playing it from the Spotify application. So if you watch this section of my Wavelink application, again, this is an audio source. It's muted right now. I'm going to actually get this all turned down. So I'm going to start playing it. And then as you see here, I know it's playing music and the audio is working, but you don't hear it. And I know you don't hear it because if I look at my stream output right here, nothing is bumping, right? There's nothing bumping there. Now, as I slowly turn the volume up, you will start to hear the music. There you have it. Now I'm going to turn that volume back down. Now, what I like about this application is, in fact, I will tell you, Harris Heller, I think actually is the person who gave them this idea when they were working on this application. You're going to notice there's two different places here, headphones and then stream output. If I wanted to mute the music in my headphones and not hear it so I could focus on you if it was distracting me, but I still wanted you to hear a little bit of music, then I would unlock this right here and I would turn it down. And then I don't hear any music. But you do. I don't hear anything. And I know you do because of this right here. So that is actually a really cool feature. Or if you don't want your audience to hear music, like this is popular for gamers. They want to listen to music while they play, but then they want the game to be what the audience hears, so they can actually just listen to music but not output it. I always lock this, and I like to hear what you're hearing. And so I turn it up so that I can hear it, and I turn it down so I know what you're hearing. So that's how I do it. But you can do the same thing with a browser. So if I were playing Epidemic Sound from the browser, I would actually be doing it over here. I would do the exact same thing I just showed you, and I would do it here. Now, I'm not going to play Epidemic Sound because that's my subscription. That's not StreamYard's subscription. So if I were to play Epidemic Sound right now, because I'm on StreamYard's channels, then StreamYard would get in trouble because they don't have an Epidemic Sound subscription. At least I don't think they do. And so I'm using the copyright free to do this demo so that we don't run into any issues, right? So, okay. Again, the microphone I'm using, is the Elgato Wave 3. You can also buy the Elgato Wave 1. It will come with, you can download this software for free. So that is what I'm using right now. The Rode has recently come out with the same thing, a very similar version of software that will do the same thing. It is easy to set up. It's easy to use. If you have the Rode NT USB mini microphone, you can actually download the new Rode Connect application as well. Okay, let me take a look here. I'm reading comments. I'm checking. So, Pokegal, you are the one who wanted us to answer this question today for sure. So, you're using Epidemic Sound. You would do the browser version. So, I know that you don't have this microphone, but you would actually want to download, if you would do the share browser version. So Epidemic Sound is actually a browser-based application that you can play music with as long as you're a subscriber. And so you don't have to use Spotify. In fact, you wouldn't be able to play the music with the Spotify app without software or hardware that would do that. But you could do the version I showed you before, which is you would share your Chrome browser and you would have Epidemic Sound playing, and you would make sure you share audio. So you share the browser, but then you put yourself in solo mode. You have to have that shared screen still in the stream. You would just then click on solo mode, and then you would be on screen. Now, I know that Ariana has guests on her show sometimes. If she's going to have a guest, you would both be on screen, and your shared screen would be showing, but that's okay. You can actually just incorporate it in your show, and it'll be fun. So, so multi-camera. Yep, there you go. I literally was, I think, saying that as you were typing that. So you would have it in there, but you can still have some fun with it. You can go with the smaller version like this, where actually it would be different if I had a guest on. In fact, I'll probably bring a guest on and we can show you what that would look like. You are going to have that screen. If you're going to have guests on, you will still have the screen share showing, but you don't have to have the browser up. So you could actually put something fun on your desktop if you wanted to, and you can minimize that browser and just share your screen and make sure you share audio, and there it is. So like you could have like this. I mean, I'm literally like minimizing my applications. You could have something really fun on your screen if you wanted to. Okay, so you could try that. Okay, so here's the deal. Ariana, Pokegal, you might have to invest in other applications. If you don't want to do it that way, you might have to try Voicemeeter if you're on a PC, or buy one of those microphones that I mentioned that comes with the applications that allow you to stream music. Here's the thing. So this is not a feature of StreamYard. This is not really there in the application right now. It's just not the way it's set up. And I applaud StreamYard's position on this, because one of the things that's really important is the ease of use. And if we start adding all these bells and whistles and all these crazy, features, now all of a sudden we have this really complex application that alienates many of the users who want that simplicity. But what I love about StreamYard is that it's open to using, you can use other things with it. You can do there's ways to make this stuff work for you. Now, you might have to add another application to your mix so that you can pull it in and then pull this music in. Now, the other option that I mentioned is hardware. Now, hardware is something, I don't have any hardware in my setup, like a Rodecaster or a Go XLR, there's hardware you can also use to pull in other audios into your streams as well. So I want to check in. I want to check in on the comments as well. So okay, so PokeGal, I want to make sure we take care of you. So I need all the visual as much as possible. Yeah. So what she's saying is she definitely wants to make sure that she can sell her cards, pull things up on screen, and she doesn't necessarily want to, have that shared screen audio. So I would say, Ariana, let's definitely, I think you would want to work towards, if you want to play music again, then you'd want to work towards, maybe looking at one of these software applications so that you can control the audio. Now, the other thing I'm going to say is, when you start adding something like music to your stream, you are adding another element for your audience, which can be amazing and create great engagement, but it also is adding another element to you and what you have to control and do. When I first started doing this stuff, to be really honest with you, it was like, okay, like I had to kind of like really prepare myself because when you add other things, you also add more opportunities or more chances of making mistakes, right? And so if this is really important to you and you really want to have music or audio in your streams, then you need to be prepared that you need to make sure that you're ready and set up for it. So one of the great things that you can do is you can set up a practice Facebook group and you can be practicing all these steps. Again, there's more things for you to be paying attention to. And what I don't want you to do is to let the music be so distracting to you because of the way you're controlling everything that you forget about your audience and you forget about your content in the first place. Right? And so don't feel like just because we see people using music and using all these cool, fancy things, it doesn't matter if you can't focus on your content and focus on your audience. And so make sure that you don't do this until you're ready, right? And so it is fun. It's awesome. I know that my audience really enjoys my new kind of intros that I do with my countdown, and I play music and I dance. They really like it. But I've also had to work to get to that place, right? Now, I also just want to really reiterate that you don't want to add this stuff to your mix if it's going to distract you from creating content. So don't wait to create content until you figure this out. You need to be creating content now, regardless of music or anything else. And so that your audience gets to know you and you can get to know them, and then maybe consider adding the music to the mix, right? So I wanted to make sure that I kind of pointed that out as well. So, can I speak to the names of the audio apps again? Yes, I'm happy to do that. So Stream Beats by Harris Heller. That's the copyright-free music that everyone can use anywhere, and it's awesome. And it's good music, and there's lots of different ones. Then there's Epidemic Sound. That's a subscription-based service. There's other ones out there. Those are just the really popular ones that I really like. Epidemic Sound, I think it's $12.99 a month. A huge library. There's vocals. There's all kinds of music and sound effects. Now, the applications for the actual the software to use play the music that you need to think about is if you have an Elgato Wave 1 or an Elgato Wave 3, it comes with a free software you can download called Wavelink. Nobody else can use it. You can't use it unless you have a Wave 1 or Wave 3 microphone as of right now. It's free, included with those microphones. Then Rode also has Rode Connect, which is the same essential thing, but for the NT USB mini microphone. So if you have the NT USB mini microphone, I think it retails for $100, then you can also download their free version of their software called Rode Connect. Again, right now, it's only with that one microphone. So make sure that you know that. And then Voice Meter for PC or Loopback for Macs. Those are other alternate applications that you can download. They're both free that will also allow you to control audio that you're playing into your stream. So those are the applications that we mentioned. So I'm going to bring up Christian, who is, y'all know Christian. If you've been watching any of the stuff, you know Christian. He's fantastic. I'm going to bring him up because I think that he will be a great person for me to kind of bring into the stream, help me answer some questions with you guys. But also, he can talk to some of the hardware. And I know that Christian also, I think, is a little bit more familiar with Loopback and some other things too. So I'm going to pull him up because you guys have lots of questions, and I want to make sure we get to your questions. So Christian, I'm going to bring you up, my friend.
Hey, how we doing? Good. How are we doing? Let me actually switch my camera. Not bad. Not bad.
Oh yeah, you're on the Brio, right? You gotta switch it
Yeah,
up.
let me switch this up. Give me 1 second. Let me actually come right back in, but feel free to keep going.
You bet. You bet. All right, so Christian's gonna switch his camera up. Let me take a look at you guys. Voice meter programs are essentially, yeah, all voice meter programs are essentially the same. The bigger ones deal with more channels. I use Banana. Thank you, Darren. Dimebag Darren Lowe. That's fantastic. You're absolutely correct. So there are different levels of that you can buy, like Banana, and I don't remember what the other names are, but they essentially, the differences are essentially that they have more channels. So if you just want to play like your microphone and Spotify, you just need the basic one, right? And so you just need the basic one. Levels for Christian were way louder. Well, let me bump me up. Let me make sure I'm loud enough here for you guys. I was doing some other types of production and I probably forgot to adjust my gain. How about we do that? I'll bump my gain up a little bit. Is that better? That might be a little bit better for you guys. Sorry about that. Okay. So, so Michael Daniel says, I have a community where we have workshops and learn all this stuff because it can be difficult to learn the process, tons of things. Yeah, I totally agree. You definitely have to tinker. You definitely have to work towards it. Christian is ready, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. There we go.
Look at you.
How we doing?
That's much better. That's much better.
Yes,
Fantastic.
that was the webcam versus switching to mirrorless DSLR. But no, this is a good, very good episode. Actually, I hope everybody's enjoying this. What questions do we have? Actually, I've been kind of following some of it backstage.
Yeah. So Emmanuel says, can we use music for Facebook too? Again, you can use music as long as you have the rights to use the music. So you might have to do a paid subscription to something or use copyright-free music. You can't just use any music. So,
right.
And we definitely talked about that. I think that's such an important piece, a very foundational thing that's really, really important. So I bumped up my I just bumped up my audio because they said you were a little louder, and I realized I didn't change my audio after recording a podcast, which when I record podcasts, I'm like up in the microphone, like super close. So I had to bump my audio up a little bit there. So hopefully we're a little bit more balanced now. But so, yeah. So Shazi says, hey, you were going to talk about hardware integration. So that's why I brought you up. Do you want to chat a little bit about the hardware aspect of things?
Yeah, sure. Actually, yeah. And I see a ton of questions, by the way, here about like using Epidemic Sound and some other really good questions as well. But let's talk hardware. So,
yeah.
So the easiest way to actually bring music in, obviously, Mel said that, you can start with sharing a Chrome tab and bringing music in that way. Then we could level it up to like Spotify or Pretzel or some of the other apps like that. But hardware is going to be the absolute easiest way. Basically, my mic, for example, right now, it's not going into my computer. This is an XLR mic, by the way. It's going directly into a Rodecaster Pro. And basically it's a mixer that is connected to my computer. So everything goes into that. It has, there's features where like if I wanted to, for example, make a call-in show, I could simply just plug in my smartphone into my Rodecaster. Somebody can call my phone. That, for example, would be able to be brought directly into your StreamYard broadcast if you want to go that route. But then it also has other capabilities. For example, if you want to play background music, you simply just play your music via your like desktop application, and then it can be routed directly into the Rodecaster and then coming directly into your StreamYard broadcast. So that's an option. That is, I will say that's about I think it's like $600. So it's like a $600 device, but it can do a lot more than, just running your mics into it. So it's kind of like an all-in-one, like one-stop shop. For those of you who want something else, this is also another device. This is a Mix Pre 3. This is actually more expensive than the Rodecaster, but as you can see, it's super portable. For something like this, I can plug a mic into one side here. And then there's also an option here as well to plug in a line out. And I basically can plug my phone directly into this and play right through this into a computer as well. So that's another option. This one's, I think these are like $700, I think. But this is another option as well. But again, these are things that they're not just for like plugging mics in. They're multifunction devices. Like if you travel, this is a great product to be able to take with you. Look how small it is. What other questions do we have, Mel, by the way?
Well, we definitely are getting, everyone's like, whole $600, and again, when you start adding, as I mentioned earlier, when we start adding other things to the mix, there are sometimes a cost. And so as you mentioned, the hardware might be the easiest and it may be even the most secure, but there is an added expense to it. So I personally, and again, we talked about budget a couple weeks ago, actually, and it's difficult to tell someone, whether they should spend money on something or not, because
Right.
everybody's budget is different based on what they're using streams for, right? And so if you have it in your budget, then maybe you do want to make the investment. But if you don't have it in your budget, then again, you kind of have to go back and say, do I really need music in my stream? Right.
Right.
And if you feel that it's really significant and important, but you don't have the budget to buy hardware or even a new microphone,
Yeah.
we definitely mentioned those free alternatives, as well, like loopback and voice meter. And, we talked, if you're just tuning in for us today, you guys, we're answering Ariana's question, Pokegal. She's Pokegal over on YouTube. And she basically was like, please help me I want to learn how to add music to StreamYard, background music. So she wants to be able to play music while she's streaming and talking to her audience. And so that's what we're talking about today. So we're talking about some of these options, and Christian, has hardware that he uses and is familiar with. I don't have the hardware, but I didn't want to spend two things. I didn't want to spend the money on the hardware, but also I didn't want another piece of equipment on my desk. I already feel like I have a lot. I've got just a lot of things here that I've got on my desk here. Actually, I can show you. I've got monitors, microphones. I have the Stream Deck, which is the new piece of hardware I added. I mean, I have so much stuff. I didn't want another piece of hardware. And that was one of the reasons why I chose to invest in one of the microphones that came with an application. And so, but if you don't have the money, then you're going to need to use one of those free alternatives. But again, I just want to keep going back to it. Do you really need the music? You have to answer that question too.
And there's some really good questions here. I mean, I just want to highlight just a few of them. So I like Tanya's question here. I mean, invest in more gear and extras once you know you're committed to sharing quality content through streaming. That's part of it. And the other part is making sure you have the community as well. So if you aren't getting people to tune in, does it make sense to go out and spend a whole bunch of money on hardware? No, probably not. So you need to get the community built first, and then, use some of your profits, for example, once things start moving, or make that investment in yourself. Because remember, it's an investment you're making in your business. It's not just like, oh, I have this, it's not a hobby, or you shouldn't treat it as a hobby.
I love that you said that. And, something else in relation to hardware, whether it be an upgraded microphone or the Rodecaster Pro, like you talked about, if you're doing podcasting too, or if you have other uses for these things, then that also should come into play. But again, if you're doing like one stream a month, or, you're streaming every once in a while and you want to play music, well, again, you have to weigh out that budget. And we talked about that a couple weeks ago. So if you guys missed our little budget conversation, go check out the replay from 2 weeks ago. We talked about how to figure out what you should spend on your streams. And a lot of it came down to, hey, what is your budget? And everybody's budget's unique and different. But at the same time, how are you using these streams? How are you, because as you said, that's an investment you're making. Can you get something back out of it? Right.
Right.
And so I think that's really important and really key.
And there's a couple of questions here, by the way. So Vandalone was asking what kind of microphone you're using, Melanie. I think that's what the Elgato Wavelength 3, right?
This is the Elgato Wave 3. There is they have an Elgato Wave 1 as well. Which is just a little bit, it's just a little simpler as far as functionality. It's great, sounds great. I love this microphone. I think, you and I've talked about this mic. It's small in profile, and it has a really great internal pop filter built into it. So the plosives aren't bad on it at all. And I just absolutely love the application that it came with. So for sure.
Yeah.
Someone mentioned Rode. Dimebag Darren mentioned Rode. He said, I love Rode. Hard to go wrong with it. I totally agree. In fact, to be really honest with you, I probably would have gotten the NT USB Mini because it's an exceptional microphone as well for USB. Yeah. And now that they have this Rode Connect, I probably would have ended up getting that one, to be totally honest with you. But don't tell Elgato I said that.
Yeah, and I want to just answer a couple more questions here, at least bring them up and let you answer them. So Mike was asking, said the Zoom H4 is amazing for XLR mics. It goes through USB. They're cheap. Yes, the Zoom H4, again, we're talking about little, other devices as well. So that's an option. There's the Zoom PodTrack P4 as well. Not to be, so the PodTrack is a really small device. Same thing, you plug in your XLR mics, and then you can also do the output to the computer. It can work as an audio interface. That's $200. So there are various price points there. There's, $200 if you want the Zoom PodTrack P8. It's basically the Rodecaster, except it's it's got a few more channels. It's not as big, but it's a good product. It's like $500, for example. So it goes, $200 to 5 to 6, for example, for a bunch of these all-in-one products. And I do like this. I mean, from Aussie K-pop Mom TV, struggling to run game shows on her channel with no way to share short audio clips. Roadcasters solved that problem and given her another 79 ideas of how she can
Awesome.
use it. And that's because, it does have, like, it has sound pads, for example,
Mhm.
built in. So you can, you can record an intro, for example, and you assign it to the pad. And all you do is push the button on the pad and it plays in your stream.
Mm.
Or you can assign an audio track that you downloaded, for example, from Epidemic Sound. So let's say you paid for that track. You can assign it through their software. You push the button. It will then allow it to play into your broadcast. The same thing for outro music or anything else you want to put there. Let me keep going through. I'm going to go through some of these questions, by the way, while you
Yeah,
keep
definitely.
chatting
I
here.
I saw a question earlier and I was looking for it,
Yeah.
where somebody said, here it is, I found it. Okay, so Stephen had this great question I wanted to make sure we talked about. He said, how can I review music or expose my audience to cool music that I find? Can I play just a few seconds of it? If you're on YouTube, if that musician or that basically that audio has been submitted, I don't know all the ins and outs of all that behind the scenes stuff, but it's my understanding that even just a few seconds can actually get you flagged or get you a strike. So I know that sometimes we just want to play that quick clip, and it sounds like that's a really cool show, especially if you're like, reviewing music or doing certain things. There are ways that you can get permission to do that, but unfortunately, you are going to have to get permission, or you are going to run the risk of getting that strike. Unfortunately, so even just a short few seconds can get that strike on you. And I know that you can be temporarily banned from these applications, and you can be permanently banned from some of these applications. Like if you have too many violations, they can literally kick you off indefinitely. So I wouldn't want that to happen to anybody. So I saw another question. Somebody asked what the Roadcaster was, which Christian just kind of went through that, which was good, which was fantastic. Someone, let's see here. What about performing live covers at our live shows? What are the copyright restrictions for that? Yeah, that's interesting, Christian. I mean, I know that I've seen people do covers, but I honestly, I'm like, how do they do that? How do they get away with
I
that?
still think it comes down to, and that's one thing that I know that we need to have more information on. I think like
Mhm.
have somebody on that can actually talk about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Because I would say this, I mean, from a cover standpoint, it's going to be the same thing. Like
Mhm.
you're technically not allowed to play covers of somebody's music without really their permission.
Mhm.
So, again, it's the same kind of thing. I mean, you can't just play somebody's music, even though, oh, it's not the same, but it's still somebody else's music.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We've got real fast. Shauna actually said
Yeah,
under
sure.
22 seconds seems to work for her. So yeah, maybe try the under 22 second rule. 22 seconds is really specific. So I'm thinking she's got that tested, tried and true. So okay, so we've got a question here
Yeah.
from Mari Cruz. I have a Rode soundboard. How can I put music for YouTube?
So I think she's talking about the Rodecaster Pro,
Yep,
very
the
likely.
Rodecaster.
So you can do a couple things. You can either bring in an application directly from your computer into the Rodecaster. So basically, the Rodecaster is, um, let's see. So how can I explain this? Your mic is connected to the Rodecaster, and then that's going out to your computer. And so basically, the application, your system in your computer has like input and output set in the sound preferences. And so then you're basically sending your application uh it how can I am I basically you're routing your
Mm-hmm.
application into like through the Rodecaster.
Mm-hmm.
So that way it's going to play that way. You may need to look at, if you can't get yours to play, you may need to, once you check the sound settings, for example, if you're on a Mac, go to System Preferences, open Sound, and check out your input and your outputs, meaning your headphones and what the audio is passing through. And also, obviously, if you're plugging headphones in, make sure your speakers are set correctly as well. You may need to also look into one of the tools that Melanie mentioned earlier, which was Loopback, for doing some routing. Those are really cool for being able to route, like, let's just say you only want a file from, for example, if it's a Mac on Finder and you have Chrome Sound, and let's say you have Spotify, you can also route those directly into one channel or one feed. So
Mm-hmm.
basically route three different things into one item. And then that's what could also then be output in your StreamYard broadcast.
Yeah, and that's essentially how the Wavelink application and the Road Connect applications work as well. Is you have different sound sources and you can turn them on and off. You can control the volumes. And when you open up StreamYard and you select your microphone, you actually select the Wavelink app. And so then all your audio is basically that's coming into your stream is whatever you're doing in that Wavelink app. And so, you have my microphone, I have my Spotify, I have my browser, and I'm controlling it all right there. You're essentially doing the same thing on the Rodecaster, just physically in a piece of
Yeah.
hardware. You're controlling the audio levels and muting and things like that there. So definitely great. A couple people are chiming in our community. So this is one of the things
sure.
I love
Yeah.
is we've got covers are a risk, but typically slide. Dimeback Darren says he sang a song one time and got a match. So he sang it and apparently sounded close enough. He said he was flattered. Shazi says you need to take license for covers too. And James, of course, our buddy James Hicks with Hicks Media says slippery slope with music. You can get a claim, not necessarily a strike. So definitely got to be careful. Some people have been able to get around it. But yeah, so there you go.
And then I'm looking at this also as well, by the way, Rotter here, I think, hopefully I pronounced that right. Covers at a club or venue live is okay because it can't be up for sale. If you stream it, it shouldn't be monetized. I've been in bands for years and worked with entertainment attorneys. Very good points, actually. Yeah. So, so it is a very slippery slope in terms of playing music during your live streams. I mean, I still also want to highlight your comment you made earlier, Mel, and that was the fact that, sorry, it was you. And I think Michael Daniels had also said that as well. Like you have to also be mindful about the platform you're streaming to. For example, the music that you might get, like YouTube has a free sound library, but for example, their sound library may not allow you to also stream it over to Facebook.
Yep.
Then Facebook might have their own library and so forth. So you have to be very careful about what you're planning to play. And that's why you always want to start with, you need royalty free or copyright free music. And you need to make sure you also read those licenses in terms of like what you are allowed to use it for and what you're not allowed to use it for. Some will say, hey, you know what? It's only for public or for personal consumption, for example. You're not allowed to resell it, for example. So you do have to read you have to read the terms and conditions of the sites you're going to be using.
Yeah, definitely. So let's see, Vinny's travel vlog. Where can I get no copyright music? There are multiple places. In fact, we talked about earlier in the show. I said that if you don't want to add any software or hardware and you don't want to pay for anything, then you can share copyright-free music you can share the audio when you share your screen. You can make sure you select share audio in StreamYard and then basically put yourself in solo mode. You can go to YouTube and there is actually copyright-free music that people create and they make a video. It'll just be a video, but there's music playing. And you can actually just play a YouTube video that way. So that's one of the ways you could do it as well. So you can just do some research and search for it. The one I mentioned earlier in the show that I really like using this as a recommendation simply because they're continuing to add to the library and it is copyright free and it seems to not have any issues. And that's if you go to Stream Beats. If you just look up Stream Beats, you will find all kinds of different playlists, different types of music, and it's all copyright free as well. So, but good question.
Yeah, and here's the thing: we'll work to see if we can get somebody on to talk more about music for copyrights. I still want to stick to the focus here, which is helping you add music to your live streams.
Yep.
Mel, I don't know. Do you want to walk back through like your process again?
Yeah, let's do a quick recap for sure. So what we were talking about was, Ariana posted this question. And again, if you have a question, you can go to our Facebook group and you can post your question and you can use the hashtag #AskStreamYard and we might feature you to get your question answered. And so today we were talking about how to add background music when you're streaming with StreamYard. And so the ways that we talked about that I covered was one, the way without adding anything to your mix, including any cost, would be to open up the music in a browser. You're gonna need to make sure you either have the rights to that music. So if you have a subscription to like Epidemic Sound or something, or find copyright-free music, open it up in a browser, and you can share your screen in StreamYard. And when you select share your screen, you're gonna make sure you click the checkbox share audio. And when you do that, then you go to solo mode and you play your music and it will be playing in the background. You would need to control the volume of it in the browser over on the screen wherever you're playing it. So that was the first way to do it. And then we talked about you can use software to do the same thing. And so the software that we talked about Loopback for Mac, and we talked about Voicemeeter for PCs. And we are working on some tutorials for you guys that will be on the YouTube channel that'll be more step-by-step with those. But we also had Michael Daniels on the Learn with StreamYard show, and he talked about Voicemeeter. So, make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel so that you don't miss those tutorials when they come out. But you can use those applications to add different audio sources from your computer, including your microphone. And then when you go to StreamYard, you would select those apps as your microphone and then control all the audio in those applications. The other two applications that we mentioned, you have to have the microphones to use these apps. Elgato Wave 1 and Elgato Wave 3 are two microphones that come with an application called WaveLink. And that is what I use. This is the Elgato Wave 3 microphone, and I use the WaveLink app, which essentially does the exact same that I just described. So you would add your audio sources, whether it be Spotify or a browser, your microphones, and then you can control the audio levels inside of that application. And when you go to StreamYard, you would select WaveLink as your microphone. You can do the same thing if you have the Rode Connect software, which is included and free if you have the Rode NT USB mini microphone. These applications only come with if you have those microphones. And so if you don't have those microphones, then you want to look at Voicemeeter for PCs and Loopback for Macs. And then the last way that we talked about would be to use hardware. So some of this hardware does have a bit of a cost to it. Christian talked about the Rodecaster Pro, which runs for about $600. There are other pieces of hardware that you can get as well that would do the same thing. They do what I just described, except on a physical piece of hardware. So it has dials on it and volume controls and buttons that you can program to do certain things. They tend to be heavy, they tend to be expensive. So if you don't want to purchase the hardware, then you would want to use a virtual version of it, like the software applications that I just mentioned. So that's essentially what we're talking about today. We're talking about adding that music to your streams. The other thing that I mentioned that's really important is that if you're going to be adding any audio to your streams, whether it be a guest or whether it be music, you definitely want to make sure you wear headphones as well. And so you might want to invest in some cool headphones like these, they're clear, but they run behind my ears as well. And I know, Christian, you have a pair of headphones that also run behind your ears as well. So you might want to make an investment in some decent headphones that are going to be comfortable, but also, if you don't want to be wearing big headphones, which some people wear big headphones and it's part of their brand, and which is totally great. So that's what we were talking about today. I know that, we've got a few other questions. I can hang out here and look and see if there's some other questions that I want to get to and answer. And I know that we'll probably be wrapping up here soon, but hopefully you guys found this helpful. And again, I just want to remind you that if you're a StreamYard user, you should definitely be in our StreamYard community over on Facebook, and you can ask a question. And if you use the hashtag #AskStreamYard, then we just might select your question. If we feel that the community, there's a lot of people wanting to know this as well, we might feature your question. We'll send you a t-shirt and we will talk and try to answer it as much as we can here on the show Ask StreamYard. So we have this show every Wednesday. So also every Wednesday now at 11 o'clock Eastern time, we'll be doing these Ask StreamYard shows. So you could get featured and it would be fun. So Christian, you want to answer some more questions? You want to hang out a little longer with me?
Yeah, we can hang out for a few more minutes. Yeah. So a couple of things I do want to just kind of make sure we highlight. So for starters, if you have questions, you can, if you're in our Facebook group, you can put in hashtag Ask StreamYard in your question. That's going to help us surface it. But if you're also on other social media platforms, let's say you're on Twitter, for example, use hashtag Ask StreamYard as well. And then this way we can keep an eye on, what questions you have, so that we can, help you all with that. Mm-hmm. So I still want to go back to, I'm looking at some of these comments here. Mm-hmm. So Nancy's asking what headphones I'm using. So I've got, let's see, these are, let me actually look real quick. I can't remember if they're Sennheisers. I think they're Sennheisers actually. Yeah, they're Sennheisers. These are Sennheiser in-ear monitors. They're wired headphones. I use wired headphones. And then I basically, you guys can kind of see the cord that's here in the back, but I run them down my back. And then I have like a 6-foot cable that's running into, in this case, into my Rodecaster Pro, or it could be running into a laptop. That's what I use. I use these primarily because you have to have the extension cable because it's a 3-foot cable for some reason. And so you can't really move around. But that's what I'm using.
Mine they're made by Me Audio, and I honestly ordered them on Amazon. So if you go to Amazon and you type in clear headphones, they will probably be the ones that pop up. They're very popular. They're actually like technically a sport headphone,
Are those the
but
M6, by the way?
I think they are. There's
Yeah.
one that comes with a microphone. I would not recommend you buy that one because you don't want to accidentally add another microphone to your mix, because you never know when that's actually, you may accidentally select it, and the next thing you know, you're using some other microphone and it's picking up your headphone microphone. But I have the same situation. It's a 3-foot cord, and I have an extension cord, and my cord's going into my microphone so that I can do a real-time monitoring. Someone asked a question about audio delay with loopback. Do you do you have any experience with that? Are you familiar with that? I saw that question earlier.
I haven't had the issue of audio delay. I think you can actually, I think, for example, I mostly run it through the Rodecaster. I think there's a way for me to adjust that.
Okay.
But yeah, do you remember the question specifically? Or?
No, it's been a while, and I just realized I'm looking for it.
But like Coffee Talk and Tech, yeah, he recommends the KB ear headphones as well. They're about $25. They're very good as well. They're in-ear monitors. Those are good headphones as well. So you don't have to get expensive headphones. I mean, you want good headphones, but you don't want if you're getting started, use the ones that came with your phone, for example. But just remember, at some point, you're going to want to level up those headphones and get a different pair probably. So for example, like if you don't want the big can headphones, maybe work to get the inner monitors. These are like $16 or something like that. So that might be something to consider.
I'm pulling up something that I've heard about this. I've not had this happen to me, but Michael is pointing out that so I mentioned earlier that you can go look for copyright-free music on YouTube, and some of these producers will make music and they make a video and you can use it. And he's saying that, for example, Kevin MacLeod, his music used to be free, then they changed it. So that's a great reminder to be careful about that. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and say that that is actually one of the reasons why I always recommend StreamBeats, because I do not ever see him changing that, because he's very mission driven on supporting streamers, and that's why he has it. So you definitely want to be careful and keep that in mind, because if they make a change to their rules, they can come after you, I guess, after the fact. I'm sure you have a fight there if you can prove that you were using it when it was free when you used it. But again, if you're going to be using music, you have to make sure you understand the copyright piece. And I love that you mentioned, Christian, that we should maybe consider bringing somebody on who really knows this stuff, like literally that's what they do, to talk about it, because I know it's slippery. It's a slippery slope, as we mentioned earlier. So
yeah, and I want to highlight Darren's comment real quick. And you're absolutely right, Darren. Like you don't need an expensive mic. You don't need a mixer, but it depends on the complexity of what you're trying to do. If it helps you, for example, produce things faster, then yeah, and you have the budget, if it works, yes, but you don't need that. So, so for example, like for a mic, like you can start with like the Shure SM58, the what is it called? Samsung Q2U, like a $70 mic. Those are fantastic mics, especially to get started as well. And, you don't need super expensive headphones. So it comes back to like what Mel was saying, which is, it's all about your content that you're streaming about. So making sure your message is clear, making sure you have good content.
Absolutely. Angie says, can I use Rode Wireless with StreamYard? So does I think she's talking about those.
The Wireless Go?
Yeah, Rode Go. You have those, don't you?
Yes, I do actually. Yeah, the Rode Wireless Go actually. Yeah, so you should be able to use that. So basically you'd have one transmitter that plugs into your computer, and the other one is going to connect to the wireless transmitter. And then that should pop up in your mic settings actually. So if you have an issue with that, feel free to reach out. You can reach out to me directly. I mean, happy to help you as well, because I do have those. What else do we have here? TGC Consulting saying, anyone using the other USB mixers besides the Rodecaster Pro? I have the Audio 2000s and my Mac keeps losing the signal, so I mute out randomly, which is super frustrating. So I would say on something like that, start with, like, whenever you have audio issues, don't think like, oh, I need to go replace the product, replace the cable. So first thing would be unplug all your cables and plug everything back in one by one, figure out where that problem's happening. So for example, if you're Mac is losing the signal. That tells me that there may be something wrong with the USB port, possibly, if it's going in via USB. And then you have to look at it. Am I plugging directly into the computer, or am I plugging into a hub, or am I plugging into a power dock? I will say this, like earlier, Mel, when I came on and I said, hey, I need to switch my camera wasn't popping up. And I actually had to unplug my cable and plug a new one in because it wasn't popping up. And so, it's the same kind of thing there. If you're having an issue with something cutting out, don't replace the equipment yet. Just replace the cable.
That's definitely, and even Coffee Talk and Tech says cables. I definitely, I love that you said that, because I do think that sometimes people give up really quick and they think just the other day, somebody was talking about that they had a bad cable I was talking to, and they said they had to replace their cable, and I was like, gosh, at least it was the cable, not the camera, right? So that's a lot cheaper fix. But he's like, I didn't know that a cable would go bad. So James is making a great point. He says, remember, folks, not all USB cables deliver power and data simultaneously. So you also want to make sure you're using the correct type of cable. A lot of these USB microphones, for example, and USB devices, they use that USB mini to USB, and you want to make sure that, for example, there's more powerful USBs, and you need to make sure you're also plugged into the correct type of port in your computer. So sometimes that is the problem and actually causes the issue. I know that I had this issue a while back with one of my cameras. I was going into the USB 2, and it needed to go into a USB 3 or whichever one, the blue one. And so that's not only make sure you have the correct cable, but also you're going into the correct type of port. And so that actually also sometimes can be the issue that's causing your problems as well. So
definitely, yeah. There's some really good questions, by the way, here. So let me go through a couple more of these. Let's see. So Deo, I see you have a question about like cropping the screen when doing screen shares. There's not a way to crop it on our end. Like if you want to, the cropping would actually be within the browser window. Realize that's not related to this. So basically you do a screen share, and then you could resize your browser window, and that actually will crop whatever. It'll basically crop whatever is within there. The other option is just
zoom. Is that what you're mentioning? Change the zoom in the Chrome browser.
Yeah, you could try
when you're
that.
Sharing that.
Yeah. I also want to say, like, Uriel, do me a favor. Uriel was saying that she could help, or he or she could help. Yeah. If you want to talk copyrighted music, just do me a favor and email marketing@streamyard.com and just reference this, and that'll get to me, and we can work on seeing about having you on. Let's see. What other questions do you see here, Mel? Can you answer Shauna's question? I guess it sounds like in order to make music, have the studio sound effect, I may want to invest in a mic with an app. Is that correct? That's a convenience thing, actually. So it's proprietary. Well, let's say it's proprietary. It's something that the company releases with their mic. So, for example, if it's an Elgato product, they sell the mic, and then they give you a companion app, which can then be used with other things. Rode, same way. They've released their Rode mics. They released the Rode NT USB Mini. They released a companion app. It makes it easier. So then that way you don't actually need the hardware. So think of it like this. You could also use Voice Meter as well. So you can use any mic into that. It's just there's a little bit of a learning curve sometimes for third-party software. However, if you're buying the mic that has the software, it would actually be easier because it's built to work with that mic.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
What is the studio sound effect? Dimebag Darren is asking, what is the studio sound effect?
Yeah, I think that's referring to actually one of the previous questions, actually.
Okay, got it.
Let me see. And by the way, Dimebag Darren, yeah, thanks a lot for Darren as well for recommending everybody hit that like button on the video. We really appreciate that. Let's see. Okay, so here's their question. Okay, my music has no bass when I play my music into my stream. It doesn't sound as good as it sounded when you guys played it. Okay, so I will go back to my comment earlier. I think that's a cable. And let me see if I can show you all this. Let's see. What do I have?
Well, if she's using hardware. So Shauna, what are you currently using to push the music into your stream? So if she were using hardware like you, it could be a cable. But if she's not, if she's all software driven, it could be. So Shauna, I will say this, that when she says no hardware. So the way that I mentioned earlier, when you share the audio from a browser and you play music that way, when you do the shared screen version that I mentioned, I will tell you that the quality of your audio won't be as good. She says I play from my browser. So it could be the browser based. I do find that when I play, when I do it that way, when I do that share audio version, I'm relying on Chrome and the way that they work together. And I actually think it does lose bass. And that is actually one of the pieces it loses. It also has that tiny little, like, I don't know, squirrely sound to it. I don't really know how to describe it.
Sounds very hollow, I think.
Yeah, very hollow. That's a great way to put it. But when I play something from the Spotify application, it does not do that. But I will say that Epidemic Sound has great audio output. So it could also be the website that you're using. So the website, depending on their output ability. So it could be partially that. I don't share audio. I have a man and it plays in the air.
So I'm actually okay. I want to kind of hear a little bit more about this part. So, do you have somebody playing music and you're like, are you holding a speaker up to something and you're trying to play it that way? Or like what's the setup? Or somebody playing music like separately, for example, and you have for example, you're having them play music and then having it come into the mic. Is that what you're doing? Because if it's that way, of course, that's not going to necessarily sound that great because the microphone and the music are not like, you have to have the right kind of mic. And then, I don't know if that's exactly what you're alluding
Mac.
to.
She meant Mac.
Oh, Mac. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So let me reread that then. Let me see. Where's,
I don't share audio. I have a Mac and it plays in the air.
The only other thing I can think of, and the reason I said it could be a cable issue is this. So if this gets too technical, let me know. But okay, so if you're plugging any sort of mic or like say you're plugging a headphone in into your computer, for example, there are what are called TRRS connections. And you see how this has, what does this have? One, two,
three lines.
Yes, this has 3 lines. And this is something you do need to. So if you plug in a pair of headphones and it doesn't necessarily sound right, say it sounds incorrect, like it might be missing something or maybe it's cutting in and out. It could very well be that you have the wrong connector. Like you could have a 2 connector here instead of when you need a 3, for example, and vice versa. Because again, just because this plugs in doesn't mean it's the right cable. Let me see. So let me see if you can take the rest of this one, Mel. So Sean,
So Shauna, I think it's because she's using the share audio. So, and I think it goes back to, and I think it was Coffee Talk Tech confirmed that the bit rate gets lost when you do the share audio, when you're sharing a screen. So she's got Spotify open. She's, the tab, she's using the browser, Spotify browser. And she's doing that method that I explained. And so Shauna, you are going to lose some audio quality when you do it that way, unfortunately. So again, you would want to maybe look at one of these applications. So she said, I'll email you my live and go into more detail. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
So for sure. But I do think that it's probably because of the share audio version. But yeah, send us your details and your as much detail as possible with how you're doing this. And we'd be happy to troubleshoot with you for sure. So fantastic.
So let's do this. Let's recap real quick the 3 options and then we'll wrap things up. And if people have questions, you're welcome to reach out to us via the Facebook group or you can private message me or whatever. So let's recap the 3 options. So the first option, is sharing a browser. So opening a browser tab, putting a music file into that, hitting play. It's going to come up as a screen share in StreamYard. So you share it as a screen. Then what you're doing is you bring yourself over top of that as a solo mode. And then you're going to be able to have the music playing behind you over top of you. You're going to have to do the adjustments of the volume, things like that to get your audio. For example, I know when Mel brought that up initially, the volume was really loud. So then she's going to have to, walk that down and make it, a lot lower so that she's not competing with that audio. So that's option 1, right? Option 2 is to look into, if you're in the market for a new mic, you can get the Elgato Wavelength 3 or Rode Connect. These are software options. They have the ability to mix and route your audio into one channel. So basically, you can take your browser channel, your Spotify application, like the desktop application. You can then route them together into your audio. You do need to have the mic that is specific to that software. So, for example, if it's Elgato, it's the Wavelink 3. If it's the Rode Connect app, it's the Rode NT USB 1.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third option is to go with an actual hardware solution. There's lots of options there. We mentioned the Zoom H4n, the H5n. Those are a couple $100. We mentioned the Rodecaster Pro. That's $600. We mentioned the Zoom PodTrack P8. That's $500. We mentioned the Mix Pre 3. Again, this is about $750, I think. Alvin also mentions here, they play it from a music player that's connected to their mixer. Again, they're going through a mixer into their computer. So, those are a bunch of your options there. Anything else we left out, Mel?
No, I think that was it. I think the other thing we talked about was just if you are going to incorporate audio into your streams, you definitely also need to have headphones, because if you're playing the music, you're streaming the music to your audience, but you're also listening to it through speakers. Your microphone might pick that audio up, so it's streaming out, but then it might be picked up in your mic, which is going to create a slight echo to the sound. And so you definitely want to make sure that you're listening to the audio through headphones instead. That is actually recommended if you have any audio in your stream, including a guest. So if you're doing an interview, you want to have headphones as well. And then, of course, we also mentioned that if you're going to play music, you need to make sure you have the rights to play that music. You cannot just play any music in your stream, even though that would be amazing and super fun. You definitely want to make sure that you have the copyright, rights associated to your music. We talked about Epidemic Sound is a subscription-based service that you can subscribe to. I think it's $12.99 a month, and you have all kinds of music to choose from to play in your streams. You can create playlists. And then, of course, we talked about copyright-free music provided by StreamBeats. So check out StreamBeats, and you can play that music anywhere, and you don't even have to worry about the copyright-free or the copyright issues. So yeah, for sure.
Definitely, yeah. And just a quick message here for Shauna. I did send you a private message just to kind of learn more about your setup, how you were running into your audio issue. I guess you were using the Chrome browser, but I want to learn more about that. So just reply back to that, please. What other questions do we have? Let's see if there's anything else, Mel. Let's see. Kieran's asking. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I love what Dimebag Darren says. He says, if you're not a particularly technical person, find one buddy with them, and suddenly things will be easier. So what he's saying is find somebody, get a buddy, learn together, figure it out. But I definitely think that sometimes it is nice to have somebody that you can lean on. I know I have my people I lean on when I have technical questions. I mean, I'm fairly technical, but I mean, there are some people that is like their jam. So I always, try to learn on my own. But then if I need some reassurance, I have my go-tos that I go to for sure.
And one last question, just to answer Kieran's question here. What do you mean by sound mixer? So we mean, for example, this is a mixer. Or this is an audio interface. So it allows me to connect microphones, for example, on one side. In this case, it's 3 microphones. There's another one on this side. And then there's a headphone port so I can monitor. And then there's also an auxiliary mic in and a stereo out. So basically, I can run all of my audio through this, and then it has, let me find it real quick. And then there's a USB option right here to go directly into a computer. So all my microphones and stuff go into this. It then runs into my computer, and my computer, then I tell it, what do I want that audio to come in from? In that case, it would be this device. So this allows me, by the way, I'll also show you the front. I guess it does allow you to adjust the volumes. For example, I have a lot of software options in here to be able to adjust the volumes as well.
You have a lot of toys.
So
by the way, did you see that somebody asked you earlier in the stream when you first came on? And I love talking about this. I will tease you about this till the day we don't have your background. Someone asked if you had a green screen. They're like, your background's looking great. Show them, just show them, touch it.
It's a vinyl background. I do have a green screen, by the way, as well, but I don't actually use it. I really haven't. I've tried it, and it requires, it's a lot more work. And if you're moving around at all, it doesn't make sense. It makes it harder.
Yeah, and green screens too. So we're both using the Sony cameras with the Sigma 16 millimeter 1.4 lens, which is why we have the blurred backgrounds. So a vinyl background like Christian's, I will say, is probably, I mean, unless you have a really hideous room and you need it, you may not want to use that unless you are using a higher end camera, because it's blurring it. It actually is making the quality of his background look great. With green screens, especially if you're using one of these
Yeah.
high quality cameras, if you're going to use a green screen, I would not invest in one of these cameras, because you're not going to get the quality at all if you're going to use a green screen. I've seen people do it. They have these $1,000 setups and then they're using a green screen. And I'm just like, you might as well just use a webcam, because honestly, you're not, it actually will, it diminishes the quality significantly when you use that green screen. So that's also something to think about too, for sure. But yeah, I think this was great. Christian, I really appreciate you jumping in and talking with me today, because especially when it came around the hardware and all that stuff, but we also just started getting so many questions. It's always great to have you help me out with the shows, but these are every Wednesday now at 11 o'clock, indefinitely, right? So make sure that you guys have subscribed, join us in the community, and you can post your question as well. And you just use the hashtag #StreamYard, and we just might grab your question and feature your question on the show. And, we'll send you a t-shirt and all that fun stuff too. So definitely make sure you've joined our Facebook community. It's fantastic. You can find that if you go over to Facebook, do a search in the groups. Honestly, just type StreamYard in the groups and it'll come up right there. But you can also go to facebook.com/groups/StreamYard community and join. Just answer a few questions, and we'd love to see you in that group, in the community. It's a great place to share what you're working on, share tips with other people. I know I always see what people are doing. I'm like, well, that's a really good idea. And I learn stuff from other users. And there's just a lot of really great support in there as well. So if you're definitely into live streaming and you are using StreamYard, you should make sure that you're part of our community for sure. So Christian, anything else before we get going for the day?
Really, I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and there's so many great comments here, and like we're here to help you. So I want to echo Dimebag Darren's advice, actually, which was to find a buddy.
Mm-hmm.
I would strongly encourage you, if you have audio questions, like you can join the StreamYard Facebook community, and it's not just there to answer StreamYard questions. Like we can also answer your tech questions, for example, or a lot of users actually that have, specific experience on things, they may chime in as well, and answer some of those questions. And I would say this, if you do have a question, don't be afraid to ask it. Like it's a safe environment. Like we want you to ask the questions because we want to help you with your streams. At the same time, make sure you also try to provide as much information as you can as well. So that will help us, instead of having to go back with like 10 questions, for example, somebody's going to ask, hey, what kind of equipment do you use? What's your setup look like? Things like that. So try to share as much information as you can, but I'm going to turn it back over to you. But this has been a lot of fun. I hope everybody's enjoying it.
Yeah. I really appreciate you joining me today, Christian, for sure. So
anytime.
What'd you say?
I said anytime.
Yeah. So definitely, as I mentioned, make sure that you guys are subscribed to us and come hang out with us next Wednesday. Now, we have lots of live shows, so don't miss all of those. We've got shows all the time, but this one is definitely one that we've added to the mix so that we can support you guys even further and help you guys. And we love that you ask questions. So I appreciate everyone as well jumping in today. And, it was just a lot of fun. It's fun to get kind of geeky with everybody, but at the same time, I know sometimes that when we get into the technical stuff, it can get a little overwhelming. But I just want to really reiterate again, which we always say this, you don't have to have all this stuff to create great live videos.
Nope, not at all.
At the minimum, you just need one of these, which pretty much everybody has one of these days, and just get out there, start streaming. We definitely recommend that you give StreamYard a try if you're not already using the application. It lets you make really great streams very easily, which is why I just love StreamYard. And I'm so grateful that I found StreamYard, and I just think it's totally changed everything for me, and it makes this all fun. So you don't have to have all the bells and whistles to create great shows. So you layer into it, take baby steps into it, dabble first, then add other things as you get going, but get connected with your audience now. Definitely be making sure that you're live streaming regularly, and you don't have to have all this stuff. But if you want to, it's not as hard as it looks. And hopefully we gave you guys some tips today that will help you guys maybe start incorporating music into your streams as well. So, and another shout out to Ariana Pokegal for asking the question and letting us feature the question today on our show. So I guess until next time, which is Kevin next week, right? So
yes, right.
Yeah, it'll be a great one. I know that we've got some great shows lined up, and we're featuring some questions that are going to be just fantastic. So so I guess we'll see you guys next time. And again, thanks for watching, everybody. See ya.
Bye.